Yes, it's that time of the year. We need to start creating these warm woolies to protect ourselves against the winter cold. Now, a scarf like this is wonderful to use for yourself or to give as gifts. Don't tell me you've never knitted before, because that's what we're doing right here. This is Knitting 101. I'm going to teach you how to knit a scarf. First, start with a yarn that you just fall in love with, and I love the purple and the fact that the yarn had variety to it in the color, because I thought it would make a pretty scarf. Next, choose your knitting needles. This size is size 15. They're pretty big, and that's nice. When you're a beginner, it's easier to work with, and the knitting goes a lot faster when you're using a larger needle. The first thing we need to do is something called casting on, and that means getting the stitches onto one of our needles. And to do that, you have to create a slip knot. So that is where you make a loop, and then we're going to tie this onto the loop. I'm going to pull that through there, create a little knot. What that does then is allow this to slip through. Did I catch it? There we go. Put that on one of your needles and pull it, not tight, just loose, so that it isn't too, it'll be easier to work with anyway. Now, to cast on, this is our first stitch. Our second stitch happens by pushing the right needle through to the back of the loop. Use your yarn, wrap it around the needle, pull it through the loop, and here's our second stitch, but we need to get it onto the left needle. To do this, pull it through a little bit, insert, see how I'm holding this first thread on? Insert into the back of this loop and pull out your right needle. Now we'll pull on this a little bit. Now we have our first 2 stitches on our left needle. We're going to do that again. Push this through the loop. See, I'm working a little tight here, so I have to stop that. Wrap it around. Gently pull it through. Here's our third stitch. Put the left needle in and behind. Pull out the right needle. And then I take a little time to adjust here. That's our third stitch. I know it looks a little goofy, don't worry about it. When we're going to do our first scarf, I'm thinking about 12 stitches on here will be plenty, because we want it to go fast, and 12's enough. It'll be about half the width of the scarf that you saw me wearing. Alright, now we have 4 stitches. I'll go to 12, and then I'm going to teach you how to knit. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, there's our 12. Looks pretty thin, but this thing will widen out, believe me. We have our 12 stitches on here, and I didn't call this part knitting. This is called casting on. I'm going to show you knitting now. And of course there are lots of other stitches. There's purl, there's cable stitch, there's popcorn stitch, but let's just knit this time, okay, since it's Knitting 101. Alright, now here's how we do it. You're going to like this because it's very similar to what we've just been doing to cast on. Get your stitches down towards the end a little bit, and always stitch loose. I have a tendency to be so tight that I can't get my needles in there. Same thing we did before. Right needle underneath and to the back of the first stitch. Take your yarn, wrap it around, pull out that stitch. So far exactly the same as casting on, but this time we're going to pull the entire stitch and the one that was on the left needle off. Go right back into the stitches on the left needle, wrap it around, create another stitch, pull that off. Go back to the needle, wrap it around, create another stitch, pull it off. Now you can see on my scarf I had 24 stitches across there, and you saw how wide that got. Well, with this one I think the 12 is going to help you get finished a lot faster, and be a little, it's always good to have a success, get something done, and then next time we'll be a little bit more creative. Now you can see I'm trying to hold these stitches on here. I don't want them to fall off that left needle, because then we will have dropped a stitch and it makes it difficult to fix it. And I'm trying to force this through because I've been stitching too tight here. See how I just loosened that a little bit? This row I'm going to start loosening. Wrap it around. Now allow the thread or yarn to loosen up here. I keep calling it thread. I've been sewing too much. Around again. We have 2 more to go, and then I'm going to show you this first row. And once you get going, you are going to be a speed demon with this, believe me. All right, now let's take a look at what we've done here. And pull on it because it makes it longer, faster. And you can see we have our very first row of knitting. Now oftentimes you will purl the next row, or you add a purl in and about during this particular process, but let's continue knitting, and it creates a nice effect. Turn this over so that now the right needle is your left needle, and you're all set to start again. Go into the back, wrap around. There, see how much looser I am? That's so much nicer, so much easier to work with. Notice I'm not doing anything different. Wrapping it around that back needle and just continuing to make your very first scarf. You know what I'll do? Let me get a couple rows on here so you can actually see this as a scarf. Then I'm going to show you how to bind it off. All right, I still have the 12, didn't drop a stitch, and this is about 10 rows of stitching. See how pretty that looks? You have some open weave there, and you have kind of a horizontal line going through. So let's say this is about 5 feet long, and we want to end our scarf. This is called binding off, and here's how we do that. Let's get into a comfy position here. The first thing you want to do is knit the first 2 stitches. 1, 2. Now take your left needle, grab the first stitch. You're going to find this is difficult sometimes. Pull it over the second stitch, but keep that second stitch on. There, now we've just bound off the very first stitch. Come back to your left needle and knit so that you can get another stitch onto your right needle. Grab the first stitch, pull it over the second, and drop it. Go back and knit a stitch. Go into the first one, pull it over, and you just bound off another one. Let me do that all the way to the end here. And then I'm going to show you how to end it. Stay on there. This can be tricky. Don't worry about it. I drop them all the time. Grab it over. Did you notice too how pretty the variegated yarns were? They make your scarf a little bit extra interesting without you having to do anything special. When you're not using special stitches, it's kind of nice to have the color variation. Pull that one over. We're getting there. 3 to go. You're going to be an old pro by the time you get to this. All right, we're doing our last one. Pull it over just like you did. Okay, here's our last stitch. I'm going to have to lay this down to grab my scissors. Cut the yarn about, well, for this one, maybe a couple of inches is all we're going to need. Draw this loop out a little bit. Take your yarn, put it through the loop. That's going to keep everything from falling apart. Pull it tight. And I have a little knot there that's going to hold everything in place. Now, you usually use like a crochet hook to weave this piece in and through here so that you can kind of hide it and don't see it. But with an open weave like this, I have found, of course I won't be able to do it while I'm trying to show you, that I can, if I play with it, I can kind of weave this through with my bare hands, and then I don't feel like I have to purchase another piece of equipment. So I brought it through one of the holes, and I'll put it through one next to it going the other way. There we go. Weave it through a couple. Actually, it helps with the needle here. Weave it back and forth until you get to a certain point, and then cut it off. All right, then the last step is we want to finish this off, of course, with some pretty tassels. These are very easy to do, and you can see you just put it right through the bottom row of your knitting. And if you go into our craft section, I have put together step-by-step instructions on how to make a scarf, and at the end you'll see exactly how to do the tassels. Now let me know, down at the bottom there's a comment section. You just have to be registered, which is easy. Give me your email address, and then you're registered. Go down to the bottom and leave some comments. Let me know, do you like doing this? Because if so, I'll teach you the cable stitch, we'll do the popcorn stitch, we'll have some fun knitting. Enjoy.